What's up, 7th grade? Mr. Agnos here. This video is for homework 4-5K. We're going to do some ugly subtraction problems. I'm going to try and get through as many as I can. So I'm going to count on the fact that you can always pause and rewind if I go too fast. Okay, number one, it says decide if each expression describes a difference that is positive, negative, or zero. So a difference is the result of a subtraction problem, okay? And they actually give us two expressions here. Here's the first one. And it says, is 2.7 minus 6.7 positive, negative, or zero? Well, notice they don't even care about the answer. They just want to know the sign of the answer. And so if I look carefully at this problem, we can see that, hey, we're subtracting a bigger number from a smaller number, right? Now, again, I know for a lot of kids this is weird, but this is why we have negative numbers. So since 6.7 is bigger than 2.7, we are definitely going to have a negative answer here. It's like I have $2.7, but I get a credit card and I spend $6.7. Well, now I'm in debt, right? So I have a negative balance. So the answer here is negative. Got it. All right, for the second expression, so now we're looking at this one right here. We talked about this last week. We said, hey, we're subtracting a negative. So I'm going to rewrite this really quick. I have 2.7 minus a negative 6.7. And what we decided last week was that when we're subtracting a negative, we're going to take these two negative signs and make a positive symbol out of them. So I literally take this one, I move it here. I take this one, I turn it vertical, and subtracting a negative is the same as adding. So this expression in black is equivalent, exactly the same as this expression right here. Subtracting a negative is the same as adding. These two are the same. They will have exactly the same answer. Now again, we don't care what the answer is. We just know that, hey, if I have a positive 2.7 here and I add another positive number to it, then my answer is going to be positive. Got it. Okay, the next question I'm going to go over is number 3. I think question 2 is similar to question 1, but there's some messy fractions there. All right, it says use a number line to find, and then they give us some very hideous numbers there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. All right, so here's how this works. The first thing I want you to notice is the scale. And by scale, I mean, here's 1. Well, how are they dividing this up? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they are dividing this into eighths, right? Okay, we're going to need to know that because when I use a number line, this is my starting point, negative 1 1/4. Well, 1/4 written in eighths is equal to 2/8. Okay, and so we got to keep that in mind as we're trying to plot this number. All right, so I'm going to take my dot and I'm going to move it to negative 1. So let's just start with that. There's negative 1, but then I need another 1/4. So I'm worried that a kid might just do this and say, hey, I got it. Well, remember, these are divided into eighths. So that's 1/8. There's 2/8. All right, so now I'm at negative 1 2/8. Which is the same as negative 1 1/4. Now I'm going to subtract. Subtract means I'm going to move to the left. So we know that our dot is going to move this way, and we're going to move 4 7/8 in this direction. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am 6 dots away from 2 here. So if I move to that same position in between negative 3 and negative 2, I will have moved 1 unit, right? So I've moved 1. I've moved 2. I've moved 3. And I've moved 4. All right? But I still need to move 7 more eighths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I got a little wiggly there at the end. Let's see if I pulled this one off. I got it. All right, you may have to rewind that one, watch it again. And now it says, well, so what is the result of this? Well, I just got to figure out what number that is. We know it's going to have a -6. So I'm going to click in my box. I'm going to bring up the mixed number. And I'm going to put -6. And I have one more eighth. So that would be 1/8. And let's see if I got it. Excellent. Okay, you may have to watch that one more than once. Or you can go ahead and ask me in class. Pay attention to your scale. It's going to be different. For me, it was eighths. For you, it might be 6 or fourths or something different. All right, the next question I'm going to go over is number 5. It says, do the subtraction, -9 minus -3.6. All right, first thing we're going to do is rewrite the problem. It says 0.0. Since it's 0.0, I'm just going to write it as -9. That 0.0 doesn't change the value. Okay, well, like we just said, since I'm subtracting a negative, I'm going to take my 2 negatives and turn those into a positive. And then I have -9 plus 3.6. Now this looks like a problem that we did earlier last week maybe, where I'm going to make change here. I'm going to break -9 into 2 parts, and one of those parts is going to be a -3.6 to be the additive inverse. So I'm going to make change. I'm definitely going to have a -3.6. And now I just need to figure out, -3.6 plus what will get me to -9. -5 will get me to -5.4. So what I did is I went to the cashier at a store and I said, hey, can you take this -$9 bill and give me a -3.6 and a -5.4 instead, right? And if I add these two together, they're worth the same as this. And the whole reason I did that was because -3.6 and +3.6 are additive inverses. So we're going to do some regrouping here. I'm going to leave -5.4 all by itself. -3.6 is dumping -5.4. He's mean, he's rude, he doesn't open doors. And -3.6 says, hey, this is much more positive person over here. And we're going to regroup over here on the right. And we know that those two sum to 0. So my answer is just whatever is left. So in this case, -5.4. And again, this should be a review from last week. So -5.4. Got it. All right, I'm going to try and get in 2 more here. We're only at 8 minutes and I have 15. But again, if I went too fast, please just pause it, watch it again, and then definitely ask questions in class. I can't answer every potential question here in these short videos. And now it's going to waste our time by loading slowly as the valuable seconds tick away. All right, the temperature in a town is 39.9 degrees Fahrenheit during the day and -8.3 Fahrenheit at night. Find the difference. All right, find the difference. All it's saying right there is to subtract. Okay, when you find the difference, that is a fancy way of saying subtract. So we're going to take our first number, 39.9, and we're going to subtract our second number, which is -8.3. Okay, so I take the first number, I subtract, there's my subtract, the second number. Okay, so like we said, we're going to take our 2 negatives, make them a positive, and I end up with 39.9 plus 8.3. So when you go ahead and do this addition, make sure you line up your decimal points correctly. We don't want to mess up any place. That's an 8. So 9 and 3 is 12. Carry the 1. 18. Carry the 1. 40. If I did that correctly, it is 48.2. So what this is actually saying here is, I'll draw a little picture. During the day, the temperature gets all the way up to 39.9. Okay, so 39.9 is at the top right here. That's the highest temperature we reach. But then at nighttime, the temperature gets all the way down to negative 8.3, which is all the way down here. All right, that's terrible. And this is 0. So what we actually found here is the distance, right, from the highest point all the way to the lowest point. And in this case, that is 48.2. All right, and I'm going to try and squeeze in one more in the final 4 minutes here. Number 11. Number 11 is similar to this temperature one, but I think we're talking about birds. There's a 7th grader as we speak. The Valley View 7th grader. They're a strange breed. All right, this one says a bird flies from the bottom of a canyon that is 67 9/10 feet below sea level to a nest that is 541.5 feet above sea level. So what is the difference in elevation from the bottom of the canyon to the bird's nest? So I know this question sounds different, but it's essentially the same thing. Here is sea level. The bird's nest, I'll use brown for the nest, is below sea level, right? So since it's below sea level, I'm going to use negative 67 9/10 to represent that. And then, I'm sorry, the nest isn't down there. The bird just flies down there. And then the nest is 541.5 feet above sea level. So the nest, we start at sea level, is actually way up here. And that's a positive 541.5. And so they said, what is the difference, right? In other words, just like the last question, how do I find the distance from here to here? Now, I actually think we could subtract a negative here, but I showed my wife this problem, and she's really good at math, even despite being an English professor. And she said, well, why don't you just take this distance right here and add this distance right there. So that's essentially what we're doing. When we subtract a negative, it's really just an addition problem. So we can rewrite this as 541 and 1/2. I'm going to make that 0.5 plus 67 9/10. So I'm going to make that 67. Well, 9/10 is just 0.9. That gives me a 4, carry the 1, 9, can't forget my decimal. That's a 10, carry the 1. 1 and 5 is 6. All right, so I get 609 4/10. Remember, 0.4 is 4/10, but it's not going to like 4/10 because this is not simplified. I can divide 4 by 2, and I can divide 10 by 2, in which case I would get 2/5. So the actual distance between the bottom of the canyon and the very top of the nest, represented by this red swoopy line here, is 609 2/5. So again, you could have set it up by subtracting a negative, but as my wife pointed out, you're really just adding these two green lines together, which is again a good point that, hey, subtracting a negative is the same as adding. All right, let's see if we got this right. Mixed number, 609 2/5. Got it. Okay, hopefully this video was helpful. I know I went fast. I can't answer all your questions in these videos, so make sure to ask questions in class. See you guys soon.